Hi, I'm Kelly from Kelly Jones Jewellery. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make these earrings. Now, they are a bit fiddly to work, so if you fancy just making a pendant, absolutely fine. You can use any size stone you like. You could even use a teardrop if you want to. If you do fancy the challenge of making the earrings, then go for it, and please tag me so I can see your versions of this. This one, I really love this one, so whether it's pendants or earrings or a set, you could do a set if you got anything left of your fingers by the time you finish the earrings. Brilliant. All the usual links are in the description below. We've got my Etsy shop and Facebook and Instagram. To make these earrings, you'll need 0.8mm wire, that's 20 gauge, and I've cut 6 lengths at 10 inches, that's 25 centimetres. You need 0.3mm weaving wire, which is 28 gauge, and you'll need about 200 centimetres, I'd say, roughly. Wound mine onto a bobbin. If you don't have a bobbin, don't worry. These are bobbins by Beadsmith. I'll put the size and the weight and that in the description below if you want to go and check those out. They're really useful and handy. Stops your wire from flailing about. Today we'll need 2 cabochons. Mine are flat backed, if I can catch it. Flat backed and mine are circular. These are 12mm little glowing moonstones. You can use teardrop for this design. You have to put it point down in the earrings if you do that. But yeah, you can use any size stone. Just remember to adjust your wire lengths accordingly. So small beads, I've got 2 4mm beads. So any bead that's like that kind of size will do. You don't want to go any bigger than that really. You want something nice and small. And 2 3mm beads, obviously the really tiny ones. You can substitute that for a different size if you want to, but I wouldn't go much bigger than 3. Jump rings, I've remembered to mention the jump rings, right, 8mm outside measurement. Again, you can use any size you like. That's the size that I prefer. And 2 ear wires. I normally make mine, but I've bought these from Cooks and Gold. All my silver wire I get from Cooks and Gold as well in the UK. But normally I buy all my wire from Metal Clays For You and Scientific Wires. Tools, I've got my pliers, round nose pliers, wire cutters, nylon pliers, which I always have handy. If you don't have these, don't worry, it's not important. I've also got some bail pliers today. You can always just bend the bail over with your fingers if you don't have any, so that's fine. All my tools I'm using at the moment are Tronex, purely because they last longer. I've got through a lot of tools in the past. So even though these might seem a bit more expensive, you don't have to keep buying tools every couple of weeks. So I've put a list in the description below of exactly what all these tools are if you want to go and check it out. So take 3 of your wires, position your thumb at the centre point, and we'll start working just to the left of your thumb there. We'll start with 3 wraps around that bottom wire. And then we'll go 1 wrap around 2 wires, come up between those 2 wires and go over the top. And then repeat, wrap around the bottom 2 wires, come up between and over the top, so you wrap around the top 2, and that's going to be our repeat. So I've done 12 repeats of that weave, and we're going to finish with a wrap around the bottom 2, and then as we started, 3 wraps around the bottom wire. So keep pushing your weave together as you go. So that's about, I think it's 1 centimetre with the wraps as well. So now we need to cut the wire at both ends. And I will show you how to make both earrings today. So we'll start at the beginning, and then when we get to a certain point, we'll then start the other one, so we've got two the same. Take it from there. So now we need to wrap this around our stone. If you're working with a teardrop, you need to put the point against this. So you need to grab it in the middle and bend a V into it, and then position that along the point of your teardrop. Because I'm working with a circular stone, I just need to bend it around the stone. So I'll get it started first, just by bending it with my hands. And then I'm going to put it around the stone. So my 3 wraps are at the bottom. So my 3 wraps will now be at the back. So we position that against the stone, and then wrap those sides up and around the stone. This is a fiddly bit. And we need it to sit right nice and tight at the bottom. And we need a little bit of a gap at the top. So where the wires meet at the top there, we need to just give them a squeeze so that they all then sit facing the same direction. They're all going straight up. So you've got this shape now in your wires. This gap at the top here, you need to be able to fit your bead at the top, because that's where the bead's going to go. So now on this design, I'm going to add just a little bit of weave at the top there, just to hold the wires together. If your stone is quite small, then you don't need to do that. And if your stone is much bigger than mine, then you'll need to add a little bit more weave. It just gives it a bit more strength at the top there. So making sure that your wires haven't crossed over each other and they're all nice and flat. Take your weaving wire. We're going to start with 3 wraps around the bottom wire. And we need that to sit below where they join at the top there. Same weave as we did before. So we go around the bottom 2, come up between, then go around the top 2. And we'll repeat that a few more times. And can I just say, please mention me, Kelly Jones Design, when you're sharing your work online. Thanks to everybody who has. I really appreciate it, guys. And please don't show images of the back, as it gives the design away. Thanks, everybody. So I'm just going to do about 5 repeats of that, and then finish with a wrap around the bottom 2, and then 3 wraps around the bottom wire. And then we'll cut both ends of that weaving wire so we can use it on the other side. Use this on the other side and do the same. So turn your piece over. I haven't flattened my ends. You must remember to, even though I forgot, flatten any sharp ends down that you have, but cut ends. Yeah, so turn your piece over. So all of the 3 wraps at the bottom should all be along the same wire. They don't have to be, because you probably won't see it when it's finished. I like to keep it all tidy. Now we're going to do exactly the same on this side. So we need to start with 3 wraps around the top wire. So we're keeping it all the same. So 3 wraps around the top wire. Slide it down. And then do the same weave as we just did. So we've got 2 wraps around the top 2 wires. So I came up between the bottom 2, and I've wrapped around the top 2 wires. Then I come under the bottom and go over the second. So we've wrapped around the bottom 2. And then you can come up between those bottom 2, to wrap around the top 2 wires, and there you go, there you've got your repeats. So we're going to do 5 repeats of that. Finish off with 3 wraps around the top wire, but don't cut your wire this time when you're finished. So I've done those 5 repeats on that side. We'll cut the wire from the beginning only. We're going to keep using this wire now, we need to keep it attached. So bring your wires together there at the top, and making sure that they don't cross over, that all your wires are lay nice and flat. We're going to wrap around the whole thing. I normally say 3 times, I'm going to go a bit more, I'll go 5 or 6. And then select a back wire and pull it nice and tight and go 3 wraps around a back wire to secure it there. So you should have, so far, 1 of your earrings, and now we're going to fit the stone. So position your stone in place. We're just going to separate the wires at the side a little bit. So we pull the back wire over the back of the stone and pull the front wire over the front of the stone. Easier to do without the stone in there, I think. Just got to keep making sure that it sits towards the bottom there and it doesn't rise up. So we'll turn to the back first. So you should have your back wire going over the back of the stone a little. Make sure that your weave is central. My weave slides about a little bit, so you need to make sure that it's sat central, because once we've bent these wires you can't move it. So I've turned to the back. It's a lovely blue glow on this stone. We're going to grab that wire right next to the weave at the bottom there, and we're going to twist, bending the wire in. It's hard to see what I'm doing, I've got all these lights in my face. And we're going to do the same for the other side. Grab that wire, twist it in, and I keep pushing the stone down, and now I'm pushing the wires against the stone, and I've held it at the top when I did that then, so hopefully at the top your wires will still be in line with the rest of it, but at the bottom the wires come in to hold the stone. It's all going to keep shifting about at the minute until we secure the top end, but that's what we've got so far on the back. So we need to pull the wires forward a bit on the front. So looking at the front, and making sure your weave is pretty central at the bottom, grab the wire at the bottom, holding the top. Grab the wire at the bottom, holding the top flat so it doesn't bend in, and I just want to bend the bottom part of the wire in. And just give it a little twist. And then do the same for the other side. Give it a little twist. And then where your wires come together at the top, give it a little squeeze just to make sure it's nice and secure around the stone. Right, I think it's best to attach one of the little beads now because it'll be a bit tricky to get to later. So pop your 4mm bead, so your slightly larger bead, onto a piece of weaving wire, pretty central. And then we need to position that at the top above the stone. So you need one piece of weaving wire going out one side. You need your bead to sit inside that gap at the top, and you need the other side, the other end of the wire to come out the other side. So your bead tucks in nicely there above the stone, and then I'll secure this by either wrapping around, I think the middle wire is best. We'll wrap 3 times around the middle wire on both sides to hold that bead in place. So I just want to let you know quickly that I've just put a new tutorial over in my Etsy shop. It's a 2-in-1 of these cute arrowhead pendants. So there's for an arrowhead shaped stone, and there's currently 50% off on my shop for another week, so get yourselves on over to Etsy. That's a written tutorial for 2-in-1 arrowhead design pendants. Thanks guys. So I've secured that bead in place, 3 wraps around both sides of that middle wire. Cut the weaving wire off at both ends when you've got it happy that it's in place, and flatten down any sharp ends with your pliers. So we'll do a little bit more to this one, and then we'll go back and start making the second one. So what we need is the 2 back wires need to stay facing up, and if you look at the front now, you should have 2 wires on each side. So they need to bend them over out the way. So we've got 2 one side, 2 the other, and 2 at the back. And our weave that we've been doing already, the one that's at the bottom and on the sides, we're now going to do that along these 2 back wires. Oh, come here. I'm just trying to bend them so they come out at the ends, so it's a little bit easier. Right, so we go around the 2 wires, we go around this wire. So we've only got 2 wires this time. Around the 2 wires, around the single wire. And we'll just keep repeating that. Around the 2 wires, around a single wire. So I've just kept repeating that weave, and I've done about, maybe 3 centimetres, roughly, a little bit more than 3. So we're going to finish with, am I taping a knot then? Finish with 3 wraps around a single wire, to be your bottom wire. Keep pushing your weave together as you go to keep it nice and tidy. And we've got 3 wraps around that bottom wire. So now if you've got bail pliers, mine are all tied up here. So if you've got bail pliers, fantastic. If not, you can bend this over like a slim pen, or you can just bend it with your fingers if you want to. I'm going to use my bail pliers. So you need to get it, so I'll grab it roughly in the middle, or bend it roughly in the middle, and you're just going to bend it straight over. This is a longer bail than what I'd normally do, but I want the design of the rest of it to really reach up. So you bend it straight over, and then where the wire comes together at the back there, I'm going to bend it forward a little bit, And then where it comes together, I'm going to bend it out. You can do all these bends with your fingers if you want to. I'm separating them at the back just to try and keep it central. I always tend to do a wonky bail. So you want to get it as straight as you can. And then where the wires meet there, we're going to go around the whole thing now, tie it all together. So get it as straight as you can, and when you're happy with that, I'm going to wrap around the whole thing. I keep losing my wire, my bobbin keeps drifting off. I think it's getting stuck in my pocket. So holding it nice and central, pulling your wires together, we're going to go around the whole thing about 3 times. And then we're going to finish with 3 wraps around a single wire. I'm trying to hold it all in place and pull it nice and tight at the same time. And the bobbin's got stuck in my pocket again. And then you just want to make sure that that is nice and straight and everything is how you want it to be. So this is the point where we have to stop, because we need 2 the same as this, and from this point this is all going to swoosh in one direction and the other one is going to swoosh in the other direction, so we've got mirror images of each other. So what we need to do now is, when I've finished playing and levelling up this one, is cut off your weaving wire and then jump back to the beginning of the video and make it all over again using your other 3 wires. So you'll end up with 2 the same as this, exactly the same. Do the same amount of repeats. If you used a teardrop, you need to put the same point in the second one, so they're all exactly the same. So now you should have 2 exactly the same, or as much the same as they're going to be. So we're going to straighten the wires now, and you want them to be sitting next to each other the best that they can, so they're kind of in a straight line, if you know what I mean. So we've got them all standing up now. So we'll work on the one, making it all go one way, and then we'll go back to the other to work the other way. So I want to start on this one. So it's your second one from the left. And what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of this tall bail, and we're going to scoop this wire around in a nice big loop. And I'm doing it nice and slowly, so it'll be the shape I want it to be. Then we're going to take the second wire, third wire. So now I'm on this wire here, the one next to it. I'm going to move him out of the way a bit. And I'm going to scoop this one, and I want it to scoop around. I want it to sit a little bit taller than that one, but I want it to scoop around the same, but sitting just a little bit higher, and then come into the same place as that one. Like that. Then we'll take the third wire, this one here, and we're going to scoop that one around as well. Taking it nice and slow and watching the shape so it's exactly how you want it to be. And I want this one to sit lower, so it's probably the same height as the first one. And I want to bring that one around. So it goes around, not gone as nicely as I wanted it to. So come around and then to sit with the others. So they all end up together there. Like that. We need to lose these two back wires really before we can start attaching the front wires. So I'm going to cut those off and then just curl them around into little tiny curls so they're out the way and we can carry on with the rest of it. So I'm just going to, it's hard to see what I'm doing behind all these lights, so nice and short, both wires. Take your round nose pliers and I'm just going to curl this one this way and that one that way. Just get them out the way for now. So I just bend that around the tip of the pliers. So you haven't got a loose end to snag on anything. It just moves it out the way for now. I'm going to do the same with the other one going the other way. So I'm a bit heavy-handed and my bail went a bit wonky. So I've levelled my bail up and I've had to push all these wires up to bring them up to the bail. So have a good look at it and make sure you're happy with the shape before we move on to the next part. So when you're happy with it, we're going to hold the front so we don't misshape all these lovely wires. And very carefully, we're going to take the wires around that side. And then I'm going to hold them firmly in place. With the other hand, I don't want them to cross over. And then bend the wires straight across the back. So where the wires all come over together at the back, I'm now going to do just a little weave across the three here, just to hold it all together, because otherwise I'm going to end up with too many wires on this side and it will look untidy. So I'm going to go 2 wraps around this bottom wire. I'm holding it upside down, so I suppose you could call it the top wire. Wrap around the bottom 2. Wrap around all 3. Wrap around all 3 twice, so it's got a bit more strength. Wrap around the bottom 2. And then wrap around the bottom 1 twice. Cut your weaving wire at both ends and flatten down any sharp bits. So now forget about the bottom wire. Take these top 2, bending the whole thing up a bit because those 2 wires are going to go around these side wires. Holding it all in place so you don't misshape it. Take those 2 wires I'm going to post them straight through so that they pop out underneath. Come on. The wires on that side there. So they've gone around the side. And you've got to keep holding it all in shape so you don't spoil anything. I'm going to pull those all the way through. So I've pulled those wires all the way through there. The top one I'm going to cut short. Or would it be easier to cut the bottom one short? Probably be easier to get in and cut the bottom one. So I'm going to take the top one back over to the front. I'm going to curl that one around. So this back one, I just need to cut that off as short as I can. And what I have done as well is, where they go around, I've given them a little squeeze with the pliers there just to press them around those side wires to get them nice and tight and finish them off. And this is just going to be a curl as well. So we've got a curl at the front, curl at the back. We could cut those wires short just to get them out the way. Couldn't think how long I needed that then. I have that about that long. We'll do the same on the back. In fact, I'm going to have this one quite short, I think. We'll have a little short one on the back. So the last wire is, I'm going to make sure my bail's straight. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So this last wire comes around and over the front there. And we're going to curl that around to be smaller than the others. I've got to do all this again now for the other one. So it's smaller than the others. And it's going to go around again and we're going to pop a bead on it. So take your time and take the wire around again. I need to try and find where I put those little beads. Pop your bead on at some point. And as you're pulling this second loop around, it'll pull your first one quite small, so try and hold on to your first loop as you make your second one. So you got that kind of shape there. I hope I can pull off a second one to this. If you're not very confident in doing all these shapes to match for earrings, you could always just make one as a pendant. Or you could make two pendants and see if you can get them to match and then end up putting them on singularly. So then you want to hold the front and bend the side around to the back. Come on. And then we need to finish off this wire. I'm just going to finish it off around the top of the bead there. So holding all the front in place, I'm going to cut it short and pop it just around the top there and squeeze it in place there. Is that going to stay if I do that? I think it's going to move if I do that. I don't think I'm going to secure the wire enough. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to carry on around the other side, and I'm going to cut it short and pop it over that side instead. So holding everything else in place, I'm going to bend that through the middle there and then squeeze it around those wires on that side. That's fine. That did move a little bit. Get back. I'm not going to finish off this curl just yet because I want to make the other one, and because this curl is so dominant and at the front, I want the other one to be the same length. So I'm going to match up the wire length with the other one. So if you do fancy the challenge of the second one, we'll start that one now. If you don't want to and you just want to keep this as a pendant, that's absolutely fine. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial so far. Everybody else, we'll grab your second one and we'll have a go at doing it in reverse. So we start with straightening up our wires. We want them to sit next to each other. We're going to do the opposite way. Oh, we need to lose those back wires first, so chop those off quite short and curl them up as we did. So I've done those back wire curls. That one's a little bit higher. Oh, I'm so fussy. So then make sure your bail's straight. My bail was a bit wonky last time. I think it does go wonky as you're working it. So now we need to match it up as we go. Match it up the best you can. I'm going to start with this wire. And we're going to put a nice big loop in the wire. So it's that one. And it needs to come over halfway of my bail. I'm so certain these two aren't going to look the same. I'm too fussy. Just move slow. I think if you do it really quick, then not necessarily going to fail. You'll get it done a lot quicker than I do. But if you're fussy like me, it'll drive you crazy. So that's my first one, which is this one here. So now the next one is this wire. And we need it to curl around and sit higher than that one. So it needs to go above that one, so it's taller. Something keeps wobbling on my table. So that's two. So far so good. And the third one sticks out a bit and is a little bit lower. So we're going to go about there. So I've got three wires. Well, they kind of look similar. So keep matching it up as you go. Got my main three wires in. So when you're happy with the shape, hold the front and very carefully start to bend the wires around the side. Try not to let them cross over each other. And then holding them very securely in place, bend your wires around the back. So now my wires have crossed over each other. You need to be there. I need to do that little weave across the back there. Then my wires will come a lot higher. They need to be a little bit lower than that. Not much I can do about that now. So I've brought mine down at a bit of a diagonal. And I'm going to do that little weave across the back. Do you remember that little weave we did? So 3 wraps, or was it 2? 2 wraps around the top wire. I keep it quite small. Come up between the bottom 2. So we'll go once around the top 2. Twice around all 3. Come up between the bottom 2. Once around the top 2. Come up between the top 2. And finish with 2 wraps around that top wire. And then cut the wire at both ends. So I've got that weave there across the back. So I'm going to ignore the bottom wire for a bit. And these 2, I've got to go around these side wires and through there, and then post them all the way through. My wires have gone around a bit high. As you can see on this side, they come down a little bit lower. So I've pulled my wires round and I've squeezed them in place a little bit with pliers. And I think we cut the bottom one, didn't we, in the end? So this higher wire, the top wire, comes around and then finishes at the front to a curl. So cut this one at the back. This has ended up being a lot longer video than I first thought. For those of you who are still watching and are going ahead with the earrings, good for you. We'll both have a pair of earrings by the end of it. Might have to keep these just for me. So let's match up and cut off a few wires. So this front wire needs to be, try and shape it roughly the same wonky shape so I can see the length of it. So that goes about that long. Is it about there? I'm going to go for that. And then we go to the back. But you want that one about the same too. That's quite short. That's going to be a little tiny one. About there. Roughly. And now for the double curl wire at the front. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know by now that I do love all these curls and swirls. So this one goes around. I'm going to pull it down a bit first. So it wants to go around. Excuse me. So it's that height. Is that about right? because the second loop does pull the first loop tighter, I've noticed. So if I start going around, and then I've got to go and hunt out my bead. So pop your little 3mm bead on there. Where did my bead sit? So my bead sat at the bottom of my second curl. It's so much harder curling the wires around this way. I feel more confident doing the other one or going the other way. Is that right? That doesn't feel right. My bead is slightly in a different place, but I'm going to have to go with that now because that's there. Slightly in a different place. So then that wire has to go around to the back. So then hold that in place the best you can. Send that wire around the back to the other side because we finished it off on the other side. And then those need to stay flat. And then this wire, so holding it in place, that new wire the best you can. This just cuts off short and wraps around this side bit here. So we've nearly finished now, and if you're still watching, yay to us, we've made the earrings version. And thank you very much for watching my videos. Right, we need to curl some wires. So I'm going to start at the back. Oh my time. So we need to curl this round into a curl, and at the same time, we need to pull it quite tight without misshaping this so that it grips it nicely in place. So I'm holding the front in place and I'm holding the back. So I'm holding it all really tight so it doesn't move too much because this could potentially ruin all the front shaping. I can feel it pulling. So you've got to do a nice, tight, small curl, but if you pull it too much, it's going to pull it through. It has pulled it a little bit, but that's fine and that's secure in place. I'm going to do that with the other one. So squeeze it all in place. Twist that wire around, do it slowly and feel if that wire is slipping. I can feel it moving. Just a little movement, that's fine. And now we need to do the front curl. Front curl's going to be a little bit bigger. Twist the end around and then pull it round into a nice curl. Do the same for the other one. So the other one's going to curl the other way. Right, so could they go this way, I wonder? They go this way so the little curls are on the outside. I'm really pleased with those. They're not perfect. I'm really pleased with those. So we need to add the jump rings and the ear wires. So your jump rings go around your bail and then your ear wires go around the jump rings. So I've put my jump ring on and I've put my ear wire on and I'll close that. So there we have it, finished, and I'm really pleased how they turned out. This is a design I did quite a while ago, actually, probably a few years ago, and I thought I'd share it with you now. So thank you to everybody for watching, especially if you've watched all this video because it's a bit of a long one today. And congratulations if you've managed to make the earrings. Please tag me. I would love to see your versions of these. I just can't hold them. Really pleased with those. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next one. Thanks everybody. Bye.